In this video, I want to talk about hangers for fabrication parts in Revit. I am using Revit 2018. On the right side of the screen, I have a chart that explains what can be done and what cannot be done in regards to hangers for fabrication parts. In my Revit, I have a sample project showing some routing of conduit, this one, duct, the blue one, then the green elements are pipes, and then I have a cable tray. Also, notice that I have some structure there. I have some columns, beams, and also some floors. If I go to a 3D view, I intentionally created some floors at different elevations, and some of them have slopes, as you can see. So let's suppose that we begin with ducts. As we can see by this chart, ducts have all the benefits of the fabrication parts, the same as pipe. So let's do some examples of some hangers for ducts in fabrication parts. To begin, we need to open the fabrication parts window. We can do that by going to the Systems tab, and then we click on Fabrication Part. That opens this MEP Fabrication Parts window. Notice at the moment for servers we don't have anything yet. For group we don't have anything yet, and the whole window is empty. There's a message here saying click settings to select a fabrication configuration and load a fabrication service into the model. So let's do that. Let's click on settings, and in this window we begin by using this fabrication configurations drop down menu, and from these two options I am going to select the imperial content. Now I see that my fabrication profile is named global, and for the fabrication services I have all these options for these are kind of catalogs or collections of fabrication parts. I am going to load the first fabrication service, ductwork plus 2 inches WG. I click on the add button and click OK. Now in the service portion of the window I have the service that I loaded, and now in the group I have some options. Since I am interested in hangers, from the group section I click on hangers, and now I see some options for hangers. So even though I can click on this tool and immediately try to put a hanger on the model, if I place this anywhere, it's not going to be hosted by the duct. It's not going to get the width and height and elevation of the duct. If I click on modify to finish, and then I go to, let's say, this section, the hanger that I just placed is actually on the floor. It's hosted by level 1. It did go to the roof. That's a good thing, but the elevation is wrong, right? It doesn't recognize the elevation of the duct. To fix it, I could mm, drag this the elevation of the hanger in a section view like this, and then using these two blue dots at the end I could modify the width of the hanger like this. So finally, now this is placed at an elevation that is really hosting or holding the duct. Okay, so that's one method. Let's do this in another way. Let's go to the floor plan again. And now let's click on one of these ducts and then let's convert these long segments of duct into fabrication parts. Notice when I click on the long segment, I click on design to fabrication. Revit asks me about which service for fabrication I want to use. I click OK. And now this is no longer a simple design duct. Now is a fabrication part, which is fully compatible with this hanger and is going to make the hanger work in a smart way. Um, I have also some other options such as optimize lengths, which is going to give me actual segments, commercial lengths for the segments of duct. Now that these are fabrication parts, if I try to use the hanger tool again, the behavior is going to be totally different. Let's do that. Let's click on the hanger again, and then I simply put the mouse on top of the duct, and notice that immediately the hanger recognizes the width and elevation of the duct. Let me place one here, one here, one here. So I'm going to place several of them so that we can see what happens with the different roofs that we have in this model. So I'm placing all of this in plan view. Notice it's faster than the other hanger that was not smart hanger, this one. So I'm going to delete the other hanger. And now let's look at this section. Let me take this section and let me move that section right here so that we can see what happened with the hangers in section. Let me go to this section, and as you can see, each of the hangers went immediately to the nearest structural floor, even though the structural floor is in a linked model. See, so this saves time, is easier to place, is already at the correct elevation. And if I go to the other section, all of these hangers are already at a good width in relation to the element that they are holding. So I would say that these are smart hangers that work when the part is a fabrication part, not a design duct, the ducts that we create with the duct tool. So notice in this chart, for ducts, can we convert a regular duct into a fabrication element? Yes. Can we get commercial lengths? Can we optimize the lengths of the ducts? Yes. Can we use route and fill, meaning if we want to join, if we want to turn a corner or join two different segments, do we get alternatives in fabrication parts? Yes. Can we use these smart hangers? Yes. And do we have other parts, fabrication parts? Yes. Notice if I go to all of these groups, yes, I have all these options for ducts. Basically, pipes enjoy the same benefits of ducts. Let me make a demonstration. So let's go back to the floor plan. This time, let's move this section line so that we can see the pipes. And let me try to do the same. If I want hangers for pipes, I have to load another fabrication service. So to load a different one, I go back to the settings button. Before I can do any change in this list of loaded services, I have to reload the configuration like this. Now I can find a service for pipe. So let's suppose that I load a piping DWV PVC 40. I add that service to my model. Then I click OK. And then I go to service and I find the new service, which is piping. I have all these pieces available. But since I am interested in hangers, I have to use the group drop down menu and find hangers. Here the situation is the same. If I simply click on the hanger and try to put it on the pipe, it's not going to recognize the diameter of the pipe or recognize the elevation of the pipe, none of those things. So let's not waste time on that. We already know what's going to happen. So to get the smart hangers, first we need to convert the all the routing of the pipes into fabrication parts. So let's try to do that. Let's click on all this path, and then we find this tool, Design to Fabrication. Which service? Piping DWV PVC 40. Let's click OK. After I do that, then I can click on the hanger icon, and then as soon as I hover the mouse on the pipe, the hanger recognizes the size and elevation of the pipe, and it also recognizes the nearest structural element, uh, which is the floors. So remember that I put different floors with different elevations. Mm, each of these hangers is going to find the proper location of the on the roof or slab. Um, let's look at this section. This is what the new hangers look. See, this one found the nearest structural element. Since the nearest structural element was the beam, then the hanger stopped right there at the beam. But if the hanger is away from the beam, it finds the nearest structural element, the floor. Now let's look at this other hangers in this space. Notice that here the elevation of the roof is higher, so all these hangers went up to the structural floor. Let me close this view and then we go to another section, which is this one, to see what happened in this case. In this case, we have a sloped roof, and the hanger found the correct uh, elevation of the roof. So now you see that there is this kind of smart hangers and some other not very smart, but we get smart hangers if we are using duct or pipe, and if we convert duct and pipe to fabrication parts. Okay, moving along in the chart, now we go to cable tray. Notice that for this question, can this design element be converted into a fabrication element? Cable tray? No. It means that if I have all this routing in cable tray already modeled, I cannot benefit from the smart hangers um, unless I model everything again with fabrication parts. So here you have to make a decision. Is it worth it to model this again using fabrication parts, or I can use the non-smart hangers? If I want to use the non-smart hangers, first I have to load the service that corresponds to cable tray and then use or find the hanger. So let's do that. I go to the settings button. Remember, here I have to reload the configuration before making changes to the list of loaded services. So let's click on reload configuration, and now we find electrical cable tray. Let's click on add and click OK. Now from here, from service, I click on electrical cable tray, and from the group I have to find hangers. And now I can click on this hanger and just put it on the screen. Remember, this is not going to recognize width or elevation. Something I can do before placing the hangers and to help myself a little bit on this task is, instead of just placing the hanger like this, I could first find out the elevation of the cable tray. I click on this cable tray, and then I see that it is placed at 8 feet from the level from level 1. Let's go to this section to find out exactly where that is, where the bottom of the cable tray is. Let's place a dimension from here to the bottom of the cable tray. I can't I can get that dimension, so let me place first a detail line or reference planes, and then try again with the dimension from here to here. That's 7 feet 10. That's the bottom of my cable tray. And if I go to modify measure between two references, from here to here is 4 inches. So that means that the 8 feet elevation is to the center of the cable tray. Okay, so knowing that the bottom of the cable tray is at 7 feet 10, before placing my non-smart hanger, I click on the hanger and I change the elevation. So I can say here in the properties the elevation is 7 feet 10 from level 1. Now notice that these disciplines or these services, cable tray and conduit, don't enjoy the same benefits as the other two, because notice when I click on this part, all these other tools are not active, such as edit part. This would be useful if I could say, hey, my hanger is supposed to be 13 inches wide or 14 inches wide for a 12-inch wide cable tray. But notice that option is not active, and those are active for duct and pipe. So I have placed one. Let me go to the section view. At least the elevation is correct. And now I can, and also the attachments are correct. See, they are attached to the sloped roof. So let me fix the width. To fix the width, I can drag one of these blue dots like this, and at least now it has some good width and the correct elevation. So maybe from here I could repeat this element. Let's suppose that I want to repeat that every 5 feet or 4 feet. So I could do a simple copy with the multiple option, and then try to say, okay, 5 feet, and then another 5 feet, and another 5 feet. I could also make arrays. Let me let me try to do 5 feet in this direction, something like this. The good thing about this is that if I go to the elevate to the section showing those hangers, um, at least the attachment to the roofs uh, is correct. Notice this one went up to this point in the sloped roof. This one went to the same roof but a different elevation. So at least for in relation to the attachment, these elements are smart. So I would advise you to do this instead of erasing your cable tray and modeling again with fabrication parts. That might be a waste of time unless you are an estimator or you are building the cable tray and you need to know exactly all the parts. Then I would say, okay, then model all that using fabrication parts, which you can find in the other service, in the channel service. Um, okay, so that's good enough for hangers for cable tray. Now, if we go back to the floor plan and let's look again at the chart. From these four routing elements, the service that has the least benefits or the worst service in fabrication parts is conduits. Notice that I cannot convert a long conduit into a commercial lens. I cannot convert it into fabrication element. I cannot use other features, and I cannot use smart hangers. And of course, I don't have any fittings or anything in the fabrication parts catalogs. Mm, if I go to settings in the fabrication parts and click on reload configuration, and I browse in this list, notice that conduit is not even on the list. See? So that is the reality. This is what we have at the moment. So what would be the workaround or solution? There's no other way, in my opinion, than just using one of the other hangers for the other disciplines, such as the hanger for the electrical cable tray. And let's click on that hangar, and these are our uh, this is our set of parallel conduits. I would simply place one over here. In this case, I could check the elevation of the bottom of the conduits before placing the hanger. At least that would give me um, the correct elevation. So let's do that. Let's go to a section and let's find out the elevation at the bottom of the conduits. Let me use this tool, measure between two references. Let's say from the bottom of the conduits to level 1. So I have 8 feet and 4 inches and some fractions. So to grab this value, I would click on the detail line, enter the cursor here, and copy that value. Now we know that it's 4 and 7/8, and then in the plan view I click on the hanger symbol. Before I place the hanger, I can paste that value here and then place the hanger. At least I get the rods to go up and find the nearest structural element. To reduce the width, I click on the blue dots like this. And this time, let's suppose that we want to do this as an array. I can click on the hanger and use the array tool just to show something different this time. Instead of copy multiple, I click on the array tool and I say there are two methods, second or last. Second is when I want a certain distance. So let's use the second method. So for the second method, I click on the screen and the second point determines the spacing. So if I say 5 feet or 6 feet, I type 5 and Revit creates an array and it gives me the opportunity to enter how many elements uh, are in the array. So let's say I want 8 elements in the array, and then I got all these hangers from here to here. The number 8 is still available on the screen, so if I see that I need 9 or 10, I can change that number in the array. So now I got this is the 10th hanger. Mm, so this is what I would do in absence of other smart features. If I move the section line just to see the hangers for the conduits, uh, let me reduce the depth of the section to 4 feet. And then let's go to this section. And as you can see, these are the conduits and these are the hangers for the conduits in the array. Very interesting is that even though they are in the array, they have different lengths. That is very smart, actually. See, the hangers found the exact height of the nearest structural element above. If I go to the other section, notice even the two rods in the hangers for the conduits have different lengths in this case because they are attaching to this sloped steel deck. So even though they're not picking up the width of the elements, they do a good job of attaching to the structure in all the surfaces, including conduit and cable tray. If you want to plot the points to get the coordinates of the points where the hangers attach to the structure, you need to use either Trimble points or Autodesk point layout and modify the family of the hanger to include that element that is required for Autodesk point layout to find the coordinates of each intersection of the rod with the roof. Let's go to the 3D view, and this is the complete exercise. As you can see, the chart shows that some services have more features than others. I hope that in the future Autodesk expands the benefits of fabrication to cover also conduits, especially conduits, because it is important for electrical contractors who need to model an extensive amount of routing of conduits, and they are interested in segment lengths, joints, unions, and all those things that and all the parts and pieces of a construction project. Okay, I hope this has been useful. Thank you very much.